Joining us tonight on the Sounds of Salford for the Halloween special, we have Jackie Bland and Steve Meadow from the Phenomena Project.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Yeah. It's good to be here.
Are you going to tell us the story about the Rochdale poster?
Oh yeah, a lot of people have been asking. A lot of people have been asking me, your chair's collapsing in.
I know. I wonder why.
I know. Yeah, well, a lot of people have been asking me a lot about that recently because of the launch of the book, the Rochdale Poltergeist. It goes back to the year 1996. Now, if you can remember, back in '96, we had quite a bad heat wave. Well, it was great for us, really.
Yeah, it was great. I remember it.
I think we had like 6 weeks of constant sunshine.
I think it was the hottest summer ever, wasn't it?
It was, yeah. And we had like a hose pipe ban within the first couple of days, basically, because there was just no water around anyway, because the reservoirs were low. And that ties in typically to this case, because I got a phone call from Rochdale City Council. They asked me, would I go in a particular location and interview the family, which were allegedly claiming of paranormal things taking place there. Now, this was in 1996 in August, during the heat wave, and they were living in a prefabricated bungalow. Now, it's if anybody don't know what those are,
it was put up after the war, wasn't it? It was put up after the war as temporary accommodation, but they stood the test of time, didn't they?
Well, there's people still living in there.
Yeah, there's still some in Salford.
And just as the Gardner family had lived there, they'd lived there for 14 years and didn't want to move, to be quite frank. They were quite happy living there. And that is until some disturbances allegedly started to take place. Now, I first became aware of it through Rochdale City Council and the newspaper, the Manchester Evening News, which ran an article which had the strangest title. It said, Spooky Spills Scare Family from Home. And of course, that got I was intrigued.
Straight away, you was
interested. What the hell is Spooky Spills? I've never heard of this. I mean, I'd been in the subject quite some time, I even know it in '96. So I met up with Rochdale Council and I went to interview the family. First thing I noticed when I got there, this was as they opened the door, was a very musty, damp smell in the air. And I noticed there was plastic sheeting on the floor in the hallway and in the lounge, and plastic seating over the settee. Pretty much everything was wrapped up in plastic everywhere.
Well, they just moved in.
Well, I said, what's with all the plastic? And they said, well, do you not know what's been going on? In a very sarcastic manner. And I said, well, I've seen the newspaper article, but maybe you can tell me a little bit more. She said, well, we've been having these disturbances with strange sounds, things moving, and of course this water, which seems to appear from nowhere. So I said, okay, can you give me a little bit more about that? And he said, well, it appears on the ceilings, and then on occasion, it can be like as if it's raining.
What, indoors?
Well, that's exactly what I questioned. I
said, I
think that's exactly the response I said. I said, what, indoors?
Yeah.
And they just looked at me as if to say...
As if you were a bit strange.
Yeah. Do you not know about this? And I said, okay. So I could clearly look, as I'm talking to him, I could clearly see that there had been water damage on the ceiling, on the wallpaper. You leave stains, you see. If you put water on the ceiling, when it dries out, it leaves a brown mark. And that's the water stain on the paper. So basically what happened there then is that I decided to take on the case, because all Rochdale City Council wanted to do is ascertain the fact that were the family telling the truth.
Yeah.
Because they do have a protocol. Tenants have more rights than they do with landlords now.
Yeah.
And the landlords, being a city council, wanted to make sure that they were doing the best for the tenants. And initially they thought, well, we can't find any explanation. Rochdale City Council had sent their guys in on numerous occasions and found absolutely nothing, no explanation as to why these things were taking place and where this water was coming from. Taking in consideration, it's a bungalow, and it's a heat wave, so it's not raining.
So
it's not raining.
Water,
so the only water, exactly. So the only water coming into the property would have to come from the water mains. From taps.
Exactly. Yeah.
So I thought, okay, perfect opportunity to do the investigation. How often are these things happening? She said, well, every now and again, maybe every 1 or 2 days it happens. I went, okay. And it's damaged the furniture, it's damaged the carpets, and of course it just comes out the blue from nowhere. So there's no warning. So I said, right, okay. So I took on I met with City Council. I got their information off them that they'd sent guys there. All they could do at this time was give a report to them to say, can you document the phenomenon?
Yeah.
They'd even checked the loft. They checked the water system. They'd been everywhere and couldn't find an explanation. So I came back a second time to meet with the family and interview them properly with a team of investigators. At that point, we decided to conduct an active investigation on behalf of Rochdale City Council. We wanted, and Rochdale Council wanted, to ascertain: does this family need relocating? Is there a problem, or are they being a bit hokey?
Yeah.
Because
obviously,
with
you would think
working
that,
with city
wouldn't you?
councils, which I have done a lot over the years, you'd be surprised how many people will manufacture up a ghost story to move. Because they simply don't want to be there anymore. Yeah. They want out. And of course, you have to wait in the waiting list for 6 years or 3 years or whatever
exactly,
it'll be.
Yeah.
Right, well, the latter moves
quick
because we've got a ghost.
It's quick alternative,
and this is a problem now because, for the landlords, they have to go in and ascertain the fact, do they really have a ghost? And if that's the case, then we have to do something because if they don't do enough, sometimes that information can go to the press. By the tenants. And
so then they get slated, won't they?
It looks bad for the council that they haven't helped and assisted. It's all traumatic and all that. And of course, it's not. It's bad press. So they're calling me.
Yeah.
So I had to tell you the truth. So the first thing I realised that they were all being very, very sincere in what they were telling me. The Gardner family had lived there for 14 years. His wife, Mr. Gardner's wife, they'd only been married about a couple of years. She was married previously and living there with a husband who died a number of years ago through a heart condition.
Yeah,
and they were living there with the daughter, and she had she was about 28. She was at the time, but she did have a disability. Yeah. So she. Should we say mentally, she was round probably about the age of maybe 13 or 14. Yes, she was about 28 years of age.
Very similar to myself.
You wish.
No, in the head, Jackie. In the head.
So, after interviewing the family, they told me exactly all the things that had been going on. I was just making notes and reports, and then we decided to conduct an active investigation. Right. And that was when things started to sort of take a bit of a twist, because whilst I was there, I hadn't witnessed anything.
Yeah. So you wasn't convinced.
It. Not a chance. Not a
chance. You wouldn't want to, really.
I went in '96. I was a quite hardline skeptic.
Yeah.
In '96. So first thing I did, point of call, was to visit the local church. Yeah. Because Vera, who lived in the home, Vera Gardner, she worked at the church as a cleaner. And her first port of call was to tell the priest there, who came round to the house and apparently did a blessing. Yeah. So my first port of call was to go and listen, have a chat with the priest. So I got in contact, went round and had a chat with him. I interviewed him, in fact. And it was quite interesting because it was a Catholic church.
Yeah.
And Catholic priests are very, should we say, they withhold.
Not forthcoming.
Not forthcoming whatsoever. No. First thing he said, sit down, very nice guy. He said, I believe you've been to the gardener's house. I said, yes. He says, right. He said, well, I can tell you now, they've got a poltergeist. And it took me back a bit, actually.
Yeah, because you didn't
wasn't expecting that from coming from a Catholic priest. And I said, what? You've already ascertained the fact they've got a poltergeist. Oh, yeah. I said, well, how do you come to that conclusion? He said, well, I went round to the house. I don't know if Vera told you, but I went on more than one occasion. Yeah. Oh, right. He said, well, Vera was turning up here crying, telling me what was going on. So I ended up to do something. So I went round. And I said, what happened? He said, well, there's a large picture on above the fire on the fabric wall. I said, yeah. And it was one of those, I don't know if you remember from the 80s, they had these very large tiger paintings which were like foil.
Yeah, I remember them. Yeah, I do remember
silver and gold and stuff. Well, apparently it launched itself off the wall. It travelled across the room a good maybe 6 or 7 foot and hit him on the thigh and bruised him quite badly.
Yeah. At
that point, he vacated the building.
Which you would, wouldn't you?
Yeah. But he did come back. He actually contacted the diocese then and said, look, they obviously need, I believe, a blessing. At that stage, he hadn't assumed the fact that he was a poltergeist. He thought it was just a haunting, maybe. And therefore, do a blessing, try and do a clearing of some sort. They weren't 12% successful priests anyway. But he thought he'd give it a stab. And he had to get, obviously, confirmation to do that from the diocese. And he did. He got it. And of course he went in there and did that, made absolutely no difference whatsoever. And then over a period of time he realised with the disturbances, the other things that were happening, objects moving around and the audible disturbances, that it was a poltergeist infestation and not a haunting.
Yeah, I think on that note we'll go to a song, Steve. We'll go to the Specials Ghost Sound.
This storm is coming like a ghost town. All the clubs are being closed down. This place is coming like a ghost town.